Tyrone Bowman live. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis testified before a MAGA Republican-led Georgia State Senate committee as lawmakers questioned her about the Trump 2020 election case. The video is courtesy of 11 Live News down in Fulton County, Georgia. So this was a contentious hearing, as Willis, usual style. She wasn't taking any stuff off of anybody. So let's go live. Well, we're not going live. This was recorded earlier. There will be commercials that will probably be inserted in this video. And as always, this video is for educational and informational purposes only.
Obviously, there's media in the room. Press has lines. I think you guys are all clear on where you're allowed to be in the committee room, where you're not allowed to be. So thank you for working with our Senate press staff on that. If there are any available seats in the middle of your aisle, please, or in the middle of your row, please scoot over. We do have overflow in room 125 here in the Capitol building for any of you that want to avail yourself of the overflow room as well. This is a Senate committee hearing. This is not a courtroom. There is no judge in the room. We will adjudicate the meeting today per the Senate rules and Mason's manual. We have the Secretary of the Senate available to advise us if there's any considerations. Governor Barnes, you are here as counsel for D.A. Willis, is that correct?
I am, but I can assert privilege. I mean, you can't decide privileges that are granted by
No, I didn't say anything about privilege. I was just referencing that that's the capacity in which you're appearing today.
Oh, yes.
And just want to kind of maybe cast a net is for those of you that have not been here for any of our committee hearings. This committee is charged with investigating and advising the General Assembly on any changes to Georgia state law as the committee deems necessary as a result of our investigation into the criminal prosecution as related to the election interference case of President Trump and the 18 others. We've had a series of meetings and have been working with the District Attorney Willis to appear today. We had a state law that passed, and as my understanding, you were appearing under the second subpoena that was issued, and there is still a Supreme Court case relative to the 2024 subpoena and the General Assembly that issued that, or the Senate that issued that at that time. Great. I referenced signs briefly. It's my understanding that there's some people that have signs in the room. You're obviously welcome to have those. Please just don't hold those up, as you will be blocking views from other members of the committee. We do have a single purpose agenda, and with that in mind, we will go ahead and swear in our witness today. Madam DA, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement I'd like to include in the record.
Sure. If you want to pass that around to us, be happy to make that as part of the record.
In other news, New Jersey residents are going to be happy to hear this.
Basically, this committee of the Republican senators, state senators. Hold on. Let's get this straight here. Let's get this feed together. So I see some stuff coming up that should not be there. Make sure that closed captions are turned off. All right. Let's get back to the video here. I'll reserve my comments until later on.
Opening statements.
We will proceed with the testimony, and if either one of you and Madam DA, is that the preferred title? Is how you'd like to refer to you?
Either District Attorney Willis or Madam DA.
Perfect. We'll go with either one of those. Thank you for being here today. Please do pull that microphone closer or lean forward when you speak. I'll try to get the volume adjusted so that everyone can hear it.
I doubt anyone will have trouble hearing me.
Fair enough. Just if you could take a minute and walk us through your career history. I know that you have a 30-year legal history. If you could just tell the committee your path to becoming the district attorney in Fulton County.
Well, I went to the best university in the nation, Howard University, matriculated through there in 3.5 years and graduated December of '92, although I walked in May of 1993. I then came down to Georgia because I was admitted to one of the top 25 law schools in the country, Emory University School of Law. While at Emory University School of Law, for the first time in Emory's history, I won the Frederick Douglass Moot Court Competition, which is a national competition put on by the Black Law Students Association. Successfully matriculated through, took the Georgia bar because the Olympics was that year. That was the last year that you could take the bar while still in law school. So during my last semester of law school, I took the bar and passed on the first try. Then became a lawyer. I worked for a small law firm with Alvin Kendall. Alvin Kendall has a great knack for picking talent because at that law firm at the time was myself and the former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who will be a great candidate for governor of this state and is now running for office. Also Teresa Mann, who is a judge in the city of Atlanta court, and another lawyer by the name of Carl Touchtone. We represented people in both criminal and civil cases. I worked there for a small time. I then left that law firm and opened up my own law practice where I practiced both juvenile law, criminal law, did some family stuff. Young practitioner. I did that out of Douglas County, Georgia. But I represented people in the entire metro area during that time. Got married, had 2 children, became a solicitor, needed a kind of a more calm life. So I went to work for Raines Carter, who's been the longest standing solicitor, I think, in the country at this point. Worked for him for some time, applied to become a district attorney, worked there approximately 16 years, tried every type of case you can imagine, but I was really a murder prosecutor. That's what I do best. But also at that time tried the longest case in Georgia's history, which is the Atlanta Public Schools case, a RICO case. That's how I became acquainted with John Floyd, because he taught me RICO inside and out, and taught me how you can use that to bring criminals to justice, which I've done throughout my career successfully. Worked there, then decided to leave to run for office. Ran for judge, came up 49%, I believe, is the percentage of the vote that I won. Actually went to a Republican strategist. He told me, because I went to a runoff, Republicans will not vote for you. And I said, why? I've had a history of representing this state. I've done so successfully. I'm known as a prosecutor. He said, you're Black and female. I said, I don't believe that to be true. I don't think that's the state of the nation. Who knew? He was right and I was wrong. I lost that election, but that was God's plan. Because after that, I had the honor of representing the Judicial Qualifications Commission. I'm one of the only Black lawyers to ever be able to do that in the state of Georgia, where I prosecuted judges who had done something wrong. And so that was a great honor of mine. Richard Hyde was one of the people that helped me to get that position because he had worked with me on Atlanta Public Schools. I think that he's still doing that kind of work, and he's a very great investigator. So I did that for a while. I also got to represent a lot of fathers and mothers as they went through domestic things, did some criminal defense work, and then people started coming to me. You need to run for district attorney. Current district attorney has some problems. You'd be outstanding at it. And who knew? I ran, I won. I'm the first woman to serve as district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia. Best to ever do it. I sit here with a 92% conviction rate. That's my history.
Excellent. Thank you so much. For those of us on the committee, it'd be helpful to kind of get a scope of what your office structure is like and kind of the makeup of your office. So employees are within the Fulton County's DA's office.
A little over 300 approximately. All numbers that I give today, which should be approximations. You should not hold me to exacts.
Certainly will do so on these questions for sure. Of those employees, about how many of those are attorneys?
Half.
About 150 attorneys. How many investigators?
65.
Okay. And how many paralegals?
I don't know, about another 70 professionals. Some of that is VWAP, some of that is administrators, some of that is legal assistants. I'm not going to be able to guess at these numbers.
Sure. The state pays a minimum salary for all district attorneys and assistant DAs, is that correct?
What do you get when you combine Viagra and Cialis?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Okay. Can you walk us through the finance?
Every time I go through this crap, I gotta bring it back and reset it. All right, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen.
The pay structure?
The state pays for my office about 25 ADAs. They're woefully underpaid. The salary that the state paid is a joke right now. If you want to look at some legislation, you should look at paying DAs across this country more money because they do not make enough. had done something wrong. And so that was a great honor of mine. Richard Hyde was one of the people that helped me to get that position because he had worked with me on Atlanta Public Schools. I think that he's still doing that kind of work, and he's a very great investigator. So I did that for a while. I also got to represent a lot of fathers and mothers as they went through domestic things, did some criminal defense work, and then people started coming to me. You need to run for district attorney. Current district attorney has some problems. You'd be outstanding at it. And who knew? I ran, I won. I'm the first woman to serve as district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia. Best to ever do it. I sit here with a 92% conviction rate. That's my history.
Excellent. Thank you so much. For those of us on the committee, it'd be helpful to kind of get a scope of what your office structure is like and kind of the makeup of your office. So how many employees are within the Fulton County's DA's office?
A little over 300 approximately. All numbers that I give today, which should be approximations. You should not hold me to exacts.
Certainly will do so on these questions for sure. Of those employees, about how many of those are attorneys?
Half.
About 150 attorneys. How many investigators?
65.
Okay. How many paralegals?
I don't know, about another 70 or so professionals. Some of that is VWAP, some of that is administrators, some of that is legal assistants. I'm not going to be able to guess at these numbers.
Sure. The state pays a minimum salary for all district attorneys and assistant DAs, is that correct?
No.
Okay. Can you walk us through the pay structure?
The state pays for my office about 25 ADAs. They're woefully underpaid. The salary that the state paid is a joke right now. If you want to look at some legislation, you should look at paying DAs across this country more money because they do not make enough money, and it is very hard for people to recruit DAs at the state pay. So for those 20 or so some lawyers that work at state pay, I do one of two things as incentives. The first thing I do is the ones that work in-house, I give them supplements that the county pays because the pay is so low and really just an embarrassment to think that we pay public servants at that rate. Another incentive I offer to some other very seasoned ADAs that are further along in their career that are my state paid employees, I let them work 95% remotely, and all they do is indict cases for my office. The rest of the lawyers paid by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office are in fact paid by the county. But you should note here that I am a state employee. I am not a county employee. I represent the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. The Fulton County DA is really slang.
Great. So give me a range then of those ADAs, including the supplement. What's the salary range of those
Probably
ADAs?
the lowest salary of any DA that works for me is 85, and the highest might be around 200. Again, don't hold me to exacts.
Sure. Okay. You were elected in 2020. We talked about that. You had a transition process in between the election and when you were sworn in. Can you walk us through what that process looked like?
It was not a very good one. Myself and the former district attorney never had a conversation. We still have never had a conversation. But while I was still on my personal time, not yet being paid by the state of Georgia, I interviewed every attorney and investigator of the office and some of the other staff because I wanted to decide who I was going to keep and who I was not going to keep. So I did that during that time period. I also had some committee members where I got some advice on things that needed to be priorities for the office as I took office. So I got very esteemed members of the Fulton County and the greater community to kind of advise me. I believe in diversity, so it was a diverse group. If you do studies on diversity, although some of you are against it, you will realize that the companies that do the best employ diversity. And so I employed diversity in that committee, and I've employed diversity in my staff because I represent a diverse community.
Who was a part of that committee?
I don't remember all the names, and I'm not going to guess at it.
What names do you remember?
Oh, my goodness. Lee Dupree's husband, William Dupree, was on that committee. There was another anchor, and I'm embarrassed to say that that was an African-American female. I'm not sure. I want to say Mayor Franklin may have been on the committee, but I can't remember exactly. There were about 15 to 20 people. That's been some time ago now.
The interviews that you referenced with the existing staff as you were kind of determining whether they would stay, who participated in those interviews with you?
It would be different people each day. Attorney Gabe Banks was one of the attorneys that did some of the interviews. He wasn't able to do all, of course, because he had an active and thriving law practice at the time. Jeff DeSantis did some of the interviews with me. Daisha Young did some of the interviews with me. People would come in and out based on their schedules. My deputy of operations now, Dexter Bond, did some of those interviews with me. Mr. Nathan Wade had a thriving practice at the time as well. He would come in and out and do some of the interviews. I was at every interview, but other people could only commit, so much of their time. They each did as much as they could. And that should not be the total list. That's what I can recall quickly right offhand. So don't take that as that was every person. I may have missed somebody that assisted me in that, and they'll have to blame it on my head, not my heart.
Okay.
Did you know you could be entitled to a 5 or 6 figure payout if you suffered a serious injury?
Let's get back to the video.
Former DA's team, and then how many people were brought in that were new?
I don't remember. I might have fired 50 or 60 people, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
It's the AJC did an article on she fired people, to which I told Fulton County I was going to only bring the best and the brightest. So I was always confused as to why that was a surprise.
Was there a lead on your transition team?
I was the lead. I was the DA.
Okay. Was there another person that you consulted with more than the others?
No.
I believe Mr. Wade said in her testimony that he was a part of over 90% of these meetings or decisions. Do you recall that being an approximate accurate statement as to his involvement?
I can't speak to any other person's testimony, so I'm not going to ever comment on someone's testimony. If he testified to such, you're going to need to show it to me. You'll have to forgive me. I don't really trust you. So I'll have to see that particular testimony.
Do you recall Mr. Wade being...
Wait just a minute. She's got a right to finish her answer. You don't have a right to cut her off.
That's incorrect, Governor. Thank you.
Sir. It is
I'll be completing answers, though, sir. So
sure.
You should get that straight from the...
Was Mr. Wade part of, would you say, more than half of the interviews that you conducted?
Yes.
Would you say it was more than 75% of the interviews you
I'm not going to guess
conducted?
at numbers. He was definitely more than half.
What percentage of decisions, was the same percentage of decisions that he was a part of?
I ultimately made every decision. I take wise counsel from a group of people. So I took wise counsel from him. I took wise counsel from Deputy Bond. Ultimately, I made the decision on who stayed and who went.
Was Mr. Wade paid for this transition work?
None of them were paid. It was all volunteer work. It was wanting to make sure that the region was safe. So people volunteered their time to make sure that we had the best and the brightest representing Fulton County and that this community stayed safe. And every person who did it for free.
Thank you. Part of one of the things you did when you came into office was you formed this new anti-corruption unit. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Can you walk us through the decision process to stand that unit up, if that replaced any other units, and who was a part of that unit once it was stood up?
And I'm actually not sure we called it the anti-corruption unit when we first took over. So when I became the district attorney, Paul Howard had 101 police brutality cases, many that went back to years, maybe to 2009. People in the community were very upset. It was both unfair to the law enforcement officers and to the community that decisions were not made. And so I knew that one of the things that I was going to have to do was to make sure that every case got looked at and was evaluated. And so I was looking for attorneys to do that. I'm not sure if that's what we called it at first, because I think we called it the Civil Rights Unit, in fact. When we first opened it, I think it was the Civil Rights Unit. At some point, I go to visit other huge district attorneys' offices that have kind of the same kind of struggles that I have as a major metro area. I went to visit the Houston District Attorney's Office at that time, and in that office they had divided cases, and I thought it was a brilliant way to do business. And so I think that's the point that I then formed a civil rights unit, which would only deal with police brutality, and an anti-corruption unit. So I think when we first started that it was called the Civil Rights Unit.
Okay, how many people were part of that unit once you got it fully operational?
Well, it depends. The county has, in my opinion, stolen people from me, so we can't do the job as effectively as needs to be done. I've had as many as, it varies. It It has varied because we had an anti-corruption unit and a civil rights unit. So it's varied.
Can you give us a range?
It really depends on who you're calling the anti-corruption unit. I've probably not had more than 2 lawyers in that unit, maybe 3 at any given time, an investigator or 2, and a legal assistant. They may have been doing double duty somewhere else.
And you entered into a contract with Chris Campbell to do some taint work as a part of that unit, is that correct?
That would be the civil rights unit.
It sounds like they were somewhat interchangeable from what you just said. You said that it was called the civil rights unit.
Notice the questioning and the logic that the Republican chair is trying to use against the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis. He's laying a foundation to try to make it seem as though she's inept and ill-equipped to have handled the job, and that she legally brought corruption charges against the Republicans regarding the election interference that occurred. And as you're going to find out throughout the course of this video, the district attorney is well capable of handling these men. It's just the Senate Judiciary Committee composed of all men. I think I see one female there, but she probably doesn't have a voice in this matter. And the one black person there, he definitely doesn't have a voice in this matter. So understand the logic. Let's get back to the video.
Started.
The civil rights unit may have encompassed everything at first, and then it ultimately becomes police brutality cases. And so what Mr. Campbell was, when the police take a statement, I know you're not an attorney, but there's an issue called garrity. And what happens is government employees, mostly we're talking about law enforcement officers, they will make a statement to the police, but that statement won't be Mirandized. There's all kinds of legal rules around it. I can't be privy to those statements. I shouldn't have them. Sometimes I think the police almost put them in there intentionally. And so they'll be intertwined in statements and reports. And so what he was hired to do is to redact. So once that I got a file from the GBI when somebody had been shot by an officer, I never read that. That way we were never tainted. That's why we use that word, by never saying that. And so, yes, he was hired. He had been, I believe my recollection is he had been a former law enforcement officer, and he was a lawyer. I thought he was great for that work.
And Terrence Bradley was involved in that work.
He had been a former probation officer and an attorney. That's one of the reasons that I thought that they would do outstanding at it, because they had long histories in the law enforcement community and lawyers.
Was Mr. Wade?
I have lawyers now currently doing that work.
Was Mr. Wade involved with the taint work?
No.
Mr. Wade, Bradley, and Campbell were law partners. Is that correct at the time?
Loosely is what I understand. I can't tell you about the design of, I can't tell you the design of his firm. I think more so what happened is they shared office space and cost or something, but I don't know. I shouldn't speak to that or speculate to it.
Did you place anyone in charge of the anti-corruption unit, or did everyone that worked for there report directly to you?
I mean, ultimately everyone reports directly to me, but the anti-corruption unit, so when it was a civil rights unit, yes, it had a lawyer that was over it. His name is Brian Watkins. He is a lawyer that's been practicing law longer than I. And at first he had everything until we realized there was so much volume of work. Because it doesn't just do this kind of work. It's not just police brutality now, right? Now it's, police lied, or it's an elected official did something wrong. It just became too much. Once we stood up these units and my county understood we were doing these kind of things, fortunately or unfortunately, the office started to get referrals. And so it just grew.
How many cases has this unit brought to trial approximately?
Oh, I couldn't tell you over the years, but we brought some to trial. Especially these police brutality cases, I couldn't tell you exactly, so I'm not going to speculate.
Okay.
It's not as many as like my major crimes unit, but I can tell you that the anti-corruption and the civil rights unit, they cost me the most money because of the experts that are needed when you are trying a police case.
How much money would you estimate that you spend a year on that unit?
I can't, and I'm not.
You can't, you're not what, I'm sorry?
I'm not going to speculate to it. I can't estimate how much.
Okay. Is that something you could provide for the committee?
I don't know that I can. What happens is I have a professional services budget, and my top deputies of certain units, so my ED over major crimes, if he needs an expert, he can hire one. For instance, if you all want to look into legislation, look into properly funding your GBI. The GBI does not have enough scientific experts. This is not a criticism of the GBI. The scientists that are there are excellent. I want that to be noted that I said that. The scientists that are there are excellent, but they do not have enough experts. So in year one, when I become the DA, they tell me, and I have an email that proves it, we can't test all your ballistics evidence. We don't have enough. So I have to go into my budget, more than $100,000, I can tell you that. I think it's been about that annually, and hire private scientists to do that ballistics work. Now, I got the names of those scientists from the GBI, but also my deputy, Mr. Watkins, over civil rights, if he needs an expert, he knows that he can get one. If my ED over major crimes needs an expert, they can get one. My domestic violence expert, if they need a domestic violence expert, they can get one. And so it all comes out of this professional services budget that I both pay attorneys that come in and work as special prosecutors, and that I pay professional witnesses that we have to hire to do our work.
So Mr. Watkins was in charge by title, or was it more so by function that he was in charge of the unit?
I don't understand your question.
Did he have a title of director of the anti-corruption unit, or was he just a person that everyone knew would make the calls within the unit?
He was the deputy of the civil rights unit.
Okay.
He remains the deputy of the civil rights unit. At some point, the civil rights unit became civil rights and anti-corruption.
Do you use those terms interchangeably now?
I do not use them interchangeably. I have one deputy over anti-corruption and one deputy over civil rights.
Who's the current deputy over anti-corruption?
Tanya Boykin.
Who was the first one?
Sonia Allen. She is now the district attorney of Cobb County. She had a great DA from Fulton endorse her, and she won.
What was Mr. Wade's role in the anti-corruption unit?
He didn't have a role in the anti-corruption unit.
With the election interference case, what unit did it fall under?
I called it the election team.
Okay. When Mr. Wade was he hired solely to focus on this election, to work on this election team, or did he do other work within your office?
I don't remember. I think there were times where I'd bring in some of my senior personnel and ask them, what's your thought on this case or these facts? I always involve wise counsel. I'm sure he was in some of those meetings.
Would you classify Mr. Wade as senior personnel and as been part of your team?
Would I classify him as senior? So he was a special prosecutor. He never worked for me as an employee. What I would call him is a seasoned lawyer, 25 years, first African-American lawyer to ever serve Cobb County as a municipal court judge. What I would call him is a lawyer with a distinguished resume.
Okay. When did you begin to consider whether to bring charges in response to the 2020 presidential election in Georgia?
Don't answer that. That's a deliberative privilege. Don't answer that. I instruct you not to answer.
Is it true that part of your transition team was involved in the process of interviewing people before you entered office to lead the investigation into the 2020 presidential election?
I'd like to answer that.
Go right ahead. You only take my advice sometimes anyway. Go ahead.
That's really an ignorant question. And if you understand what the word ignorant means, it means the lack of knowledge. If you recall the facts, I was already district attorney when this all came to light. So it's factually impossible.
You were district attorney when what came to light?
When Raffensperger went on Good Morning America or whatever show he went on. I was already district attorney, so what you ask is a factual impossibility. Now, I know they've gotten black folks confused and said I was running for office, saying I was going to prosecute the president of the United States, but that's what we call a lie.
Okay. I would like to...
from here on out, okay?
Yeah.
For full month reconstruction.
He is trying his best to entrap her, to cite up a perjurous charge, but it's not going to work because he's dealing with one of the brightest minds in the legal field, whether he wants to acknowledge that or not, and it's not going to work. So let's get back to this combative state Senate committee hearing with Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
And he was asked for the search committee. You said that began when DA Willis took office on January 1, 2021. Is that correct? Yes. And there was outreach to you to be part of the search committee prior to January 2021, January 1, 2021. Absolutely. When did that
Just
start?
like some other folk
Sometime
in
after the
power,
election,
criminals as
prior
well.
to her taking office. Okay, so between the election, you're referring to November 2020 election. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And so when you had conversations with individuals, you said on multiple occasions, you said no, and you turned down the position. Who were those conversations with? They were with the district attorney.
So I think you're confusing facts. We've already had a long conversation about I interviewed everybody at the DA's office, and I interviewed other people to come and work at the district attorney's office. And as I told you, I did that on my free time before I became DA. But I had no way of knowing that these criminals were going to commit a crime. And that did not come to light until January of 2021 when I'm actually the DA. So it is a factual impossibility, like I already told you. I think that is misinterpreted. He's absolutely correct. We looked for talent for the district attorney's office before I became the DA. I didn't wait till the day I took office to look for talent that would represent my office. But I was unable to look for talent for a case that didn't exist before I took office. It's factually impossible. It's common sense. You don't need to be a lawyer.
I'm going to read you some additional testimony. I'll try to put it on the screen.
You can read me as much as you want, but
I will. Thank you, Madam DA. I apologize. I did not intend to have to get into this here.
Yes, you did. You intend to do exactly what you're doing. It's deliberative.
What was when Mr. Wade says that there was an interview on line 13, as you'll see here, this is prior to you entering office. What were you interviewing him for?
I didn't interview him prior to him entering office. He had a thriving law practice. Even when he ends up being offered the position, he doesn't want it.
Okay, now so it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election.
Don't answer that. That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind in the process that goes.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
She was not, but you asked.
I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell it because it occurred after.
You know, it's ironic how the same Republicans did not want an inquiry when the insurrection occurred on January 6th. They're still denying that it was an insurrection, guys under the heading of patriotism. And now, down in Fulton County, you've got these MAGA Senate, state Senate Republicans trying to entrap District Attorney Fani Willis into saying that prior to her becoming district attorney in Fulton County, that she interviewed Nathan Wade for the position of prosecuting the President of the United States when he knows that is not true. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, when individuals are going to court, be careful to listen to the instructions that your lawyers give you. You don't give your enemies any ammunition to use against you, because they're going to take your words and try to misconstrue them, get you entangled up in it, because they want to get you cited for perjury. When these same people, when they are questioned vigorously under oath, they plead the fifth on everything, or they want to interject, it's my right, it's privileged information, I can't talk about it. But when someone else does the same thing to them, they can't handle it.
She took office, but
I didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office. Like, factually, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you. Would you agree with the statement? Actually, I'll skip that question.
Yeah, you better skip it.
When did you decide to hire outside of your office a special assistant district attorney for this election case?
Oh, Lord. So when I became the district attorney of Fulton County, the office was in absolute chaos. I have to take you back. Can you hear me?
It's a little. I was going to try to turn you up if you don't mind leaning forward.
When I became the district attorney of Fulton County, the office was in absolute chaos. And I mean every level of chaos. On the ground, the carpet was molded and there were holes in it, and it was disgusting, a disgusting environment. There were boxes in offices, some to where you couldn't open the door. I remember walking through the office before. I told you I'd fired 50 or 60, I don't know exactly how many employees that I felt were unqualified to do this work. That doesn't mean they were bad people, but they were unqualified for the positions that they held. There were 18,000, write that down, 18,000 unindicted cases that went back 6 or 7 years that I was looking at. Not to mention another, 10,000 indicted cases in the system. Now, some that the judges had hid on judicial hold, but they were still there. So the office was in absolute chaos. And then I'm in the office I came in that Saturday, so that would have been day one. That was the day that I walked through the office. And I'm literally in the office that Monday or Tuesday. I can't recall now what day it is. And there's this phone call, and the Secretary of State saying, the proper venue to investigate this might be Fulton County. And so my priority became, and this is important too, there were 200 and something murders that had been sitting for years, families that had been waiting for justice years. And so when I come to be the district attorney, my first responsibility is just getting the office properly set up. In fact, one of the most important roles I held up that I tried to find was the head of the civil rights lawyer. So when Brian Watkins walked into my office and actually interviewed to come there, because he was not with the old administration, that was like a gift from God, that I had a lawyer that had enough experience and would be talented enough and ethical enough and have the integrity to do this work. But my primary job was getting the entire office set up. So I immediately do things like set up a murder backlog project. I put Mike Carlson and Michael Sprinkle in charge of that. We're going to get every family's going to get an answer. They may not like the answer. The answer may be we can't prosecute this, but we're not going to sit with cases. We got to make decisions on these cases. And it took us years to get through that, but we did. And I'm happy to sit here and announce to you, every one of those 18,000 cases, a decision got made on, to include those 101 police cases I talked about, as well as the 36 cases that came in January 1st, 2021 till December 31st of 2024. So while people tell these lies about the DA ain't been working, I want you to find a DA working as hard as me.
Did you lose over $75,000 sports betting on DraftKings or FanDuel?
And that's that. It's going to get a lot more contentious, ladies and gentlemen. Tyrone Bowman live. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis before the State Senate Committee. I called it interrogation. They called it a hearing, and I disagree because it's not a hearing. They're interrogating her, trying to entrap her. That was the purpose for this committee's convening here.
District Attorney for the election interference case.
When it became obvious that this case would take so much investigation to learn the truth, and that I would need people that could focus on that, and although I had talent in the office that was being developed, each and every member of my staff had a priority. See, this is the most important case to you. Let me tell you what the most important case was to me. When I walked in the office, there had been 2 black children that had been killed. Sequoia Turner and Kennedy Maxwell. Those were the two most important cases to me as the DA. And I needed to make sure that those families got justice, but the cases didn't come with a bow on them. In fact, one of the cases was particularly not done properly. And so my priority became making sure I had the talent to make sure we got all of those cases done. If you're wondering, both those men are doing life right now for taking those children from us.
Certainly aware of the case and the autonomous zone and everything that happened back in that tragic time frame. So definitely appreciate those murderers being behind bars. So you didn't really give me a date range, but we'll just move on here. But you did consider Governor Barnes for this role. He's testified to that previously.
And let me tell you what Governor Barnes told me. Governor Barnes told me when he was the governor, he changed the state flag from the Confederate flag. And that as a result of him changing the Confederate flag to changing the flag to make it more inclusive to all Georgians, that the Ku Klux Klan sat outside his house and that he lived under threat during that time period. He told me that him and his beautiful wife had survived that, but that he was an older gentleman now. I'm going to say that nicely. He was an older gentleman, and due to the nuts that would come out of the woodwork if I was doing this type of work, that he was not at a juncture in his life where he could take those kind of security risks. He also refused to work for $250 an hour.
I can attest to that.
We've got some questioning in here, Governor, on your rates, and we'll get to that in a bit. You did, Madam DA, you considered several attorneys for this case in addition to Mr. Barnes?
I did.
And ultimately, you selected Mr. Wade to oversee the anti-corruption unit. Is that correct?
He never oversaw the anti-corruption unit.
My apologies. To oversee the elections interference case.
To manage, yes.
How would you delineate manage versus my choice of oversee?
They're the same.
Okay. What happened between January 2021, I believe that's when the phone call was that you referenced, in November 2021, which was the time that Mr. Wade signed his first contract? What type of work happened within any area of your office in terms of gathering evidence or considering whether or not to bring these charges?
You want me to answer? Not particularly. I don't think it's any of their business.
You're getting into why a grand jury returns a bill of indictment. That is a deliberative process wrapped in the discretion of the district attorney. We're not going to I'm going to instruct her not to answer. Wait a minute. You can, if you see fit, you can seek to enforce that question, at which time she would be entitled to a jury trial in Fulton County, and I would be able to cross-examine you, each one of you, with a real judge ruling on real law. But until that happens, I'm going to instruct her not to.
So on your advice to counsel, you're asserting privilege?
I'm telling her not to.
Yes, she's asserting privilege. Point blank.
With the
You
witness.
don't have to answer that. I'm not a potted plant. I can answer.
You can advise. You can absolutely
That's his
advise your
right.
client, Governor Barnes. I'm asking your
I
client.
suggest you move on.
I'm asking your client if you are asserting privilege on the answer to the question.
I made the objection on the record and told you even what you can do to enforce it.
He's a former governor.
What was the total cost of the election interference case?
What difference does it make?
I don't recall, but if we want to talk about cost, I'd love to talk about how last year alone the AG paid one lawyer $8 million.
Yes.
You don't know what the cost of the
Talk about that.
cost of the election interference case?
I don't know the exact cost.
What's the range?
I don't want to speculate to numbers. Whatever it cost, they tried to steal the rights of thousands of Georgians. It couldn't have been enough.
What was the rough total operating budget of your office last year?
I don't know that. It's probably around $40 million. That's a speculation and a guess. That includes state money, grant money, and that's not an exact number. I don't do the budget. I have very high-level conversations about that.
Okay. Can you give us a rough breakdown of that, the county budget and the state budget?
I cannot, and I'm not going to guess for you.
Does the federal government give you any money?
I do have some grants, yes.
The only source of federal money you get is from grants?
To my knowledge, I don't. There may be something else. We may have some federal seizure money. If we do, it's not much. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate. If I say, oh, they gave me grant money and this federal seizure money, and you find some line item someplace that I don't know, you'll swear I was trying to lie to you. Truth is, I don't know the correct answer.
I'm just trying to get to. I know you run a tight ship over there. You're proud of your work.
The truth is, not every child gets the chance to go
The truth is, he already has the answers sitting before him, but he doesn't want to deal with the actual facts that's being presented because he wants to create alternative facts. That is the truth. Make up as you go along. Tyrone Bowman Live.
Assume that you would
I'm
have
the
some
best
sort
DA in the Southeast. Why wouldn't I be proud of my work?
What's your annual budget?
I told you it's around $40 million, but I do not know an exact number.
And what's the approximate source of funds that you receive from the state versus the county?
Me, like every other district attorney in this state, do not receive enough funds. I told you that you all pay 20 to 25 ADAs. I don't know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me. You pay two legal assistants and one investigator. Now, Fulton County is 1,000,002 people. It's the place that when people come to Georgia, they're coming is to Atlanta. On a daily basis, we have 5 million people, and we are very improperly funded. If this committee wants to do some real work, it'll get serious about crime fighting among this state. From every rural community to I'm answering my question.
I'm good. That's not an answer to the question.
Okay, well, if this committee wants to get serious about legislation to make the communities in the state of Georgia safer, they will invest more money in every district attorney's office across this state. That's the rural DAs need more, the middle size, the residentials, and the big cities like Atlanta.
Tyrone Bowman Live. You're listening to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis as she's testifying before the MAGA Republican-led Senate Committee on the 2020 interference case. I'm going to take about a 3 to 4 minute break, and for your listening pleasure, I want to put some instrumental music on so there will not be an appalling silence in the background. And I'll be right back right after this. Let me get this thing to be commercial free. I like to bring things before you in an effort to educate and inform. We'll be right back right after this. This is called Cozy Cabin Instrumental Christmas Jazz. And I'm back from my break, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being patient with me. Tyrone Bowman live. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is appearing, or she appeared earlier, before the MAGA Republican-led Senate committee in Georgia. Basically, they're trying to entrap her. They're trying to say that she was wrong for bringing interference election charges, and basically they're trying to litigate unofficially something that doesn't need to be litigated. Let's get back to this video. Here we go.
All of us need more resources to be able to do our job appropriately. And it is a joke the way that these people are funded that are dedicating their lives to public service. Also, I want to go back to, because this is extremely important and you have the power to do it. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation cannot take
I did not ask you
kids.
for advice on what the legislation
You asked
can do.
Exactly what the resolution said, to take advice on legislation.
And we will get to that time.
Well, you asked the question, she has a right to fully answer.
And if she would answer the question, Governor, I would not be saying it. She's pontificating on everything from rape kits, which was what she was about to get into. The question was the amount of money that came from state funds and county funds, and she doesn't know the answer to that question. The answer is I don't know. The question isn't let me talk. The answer isn't let me talk about rape kits. So I'll get back to the line of questioning. I'm going to give you latitude here, Madam DA, but same way in a courtroom, there are guardrails as to what we need to stay within. Indeed, Governor, and this is not a courtroom.
To make evidentiary rulings, and you don't have the power.
I have plenary power, Governor, to conduct the meeting.
No, sir,
Absolutely.
You do not have plenary power. I know you think you do, and that you're above the law, but you are not. If you want to cite her for contempt,
Governor,
she is entitled to a jury trial. And I can examine you on your actions, and I can examine you on your motives, then I will be glad to take that, as Clint Eastwood would say, make my day.
We know the motives. He's on the ballot.
Governor, this is
a witch hunt.
This is a hearing of the Senate Special Committee.
It's a witch hunt.
What about those that you convicted illegally and locked up?
He is trying to use this committee as a foundation to get elected to public office. That's what he's attempting to do. He's trying to discredit a credible district attorney in Fulton County. And the reason why he's doing it, because he's taking orders from those who are in power. This is what this so-called hearing is about. It's not fair, it's not decent, and it's not honorable. The man is corrupt. And I'm glad that the former governor, who is now in private practice as an attorney, is taking it straight to him.
Why is it that you run ads?
We're going to go on to our next question. How are the funds? You say that we give you the money, and I know that's a loose term, and that flows into the Fulton County coffers, so to speak. And when you remit payment, you do that through the Fulton County accounting system. Is that correct?
Your question was compound. I didn't understand.
Sure. I'll try to break that down. When checks are written as a result of a check request made by your office, those checks are paid by Fulton County. Is that correct?
This month only. We're looking
Well,
for...
who else would distribute the money? Don't be stupid. I see why Republicans are going to lose during the midterm elections. It's obvious.
What I can tell you is that it probably happens in every other circuit. The district attorney has control over their budget and they don't have to go to the county. But I understood I was a woman DA coming into office. I also understood that I was African American. And so therefore there would always be a target on my back. And so I did two things financially. One is I've never, so people can stop requesting, had a credit card associated with that office. Never. So I've never had a credit card, will never have a credit card. The other thing I did is that there is a CFO of Fulton County, a white female. Her name is Sharon Whitmore. I believe you've heard from her. And so I made it so that the procedures of my office, although I did not have to do it, that it has to go through her for clearance. That way, nobody would say the district attorney stole any money.
Okay, that gets to the core of my question. So when you're paying vendors, when you're paying contractors, that's going through. I think you said her name was Miss Whitmore, and she did testify before the committee. What I'm getting to, and I'm trying to figure out, is whether when the state funds come in, the federal funds come in, the county funds come in, are those paid for out of separate accounts? Are those funds kind of commingled into a general budget, if you will, and that gets allocated?
I really couldn't answer the question. There's many different pots of money from the county. The state directly pays those state employees. Then they get another check from the county, the ones that don't make enough from the state. I really can't fully answer your question of all the ways. I have a team that I call my deputy. I have a deputy of operations and a team that does that kind of stuff, but there's some money from the county. There's some money from the state. The grant money I know goes to the state. The truth is I don't have any grants. Fulton County has grants, but those grants do benefit my office. My Saki unit is renowned. I'm ending the year with 100% conviction rate on special victim division. Saki is a sexual assault kit initiative. Georgia, like many states, failed victims, mainly victims of color. And so rape kits for years, going back to the 80s, were not tested. So we have a grant with the federal government that, and I'm talking about thousands of rape kits, where they go and they test those rape kits. What we have found is if they would have done those jobs and believed those victims, that many of those rape kits go back to serial rapists. They also go back to people that have committed other crimes. I have excellent attorneys that are in that unit, some that I pay out of the grant, some that I add with my general fund. And as I said, not just my Saki unit, but my crimes against children unit, my Saki unit, my sexual assault unit, my human trafficking unit. We're ending the year with 100%.
So just yes or no on these, we can move quickly on to the next topic. You said you do not have a county credit card or a DA credit card.
Absolutely not. So y'all can say I stole some money.
Is there any sort of DA checking account that's separate that you use to pay your vendors or anything like that, or is it all go through the county?
I really can't answer that, and so I'm not going to speculate.
Okay. You mentioned forfeiture funds.
I like the fact that District Attorney Fani Willis made it crystal clear that she has no accounts whatsoever. And some of you black politicians out there, you need to learn a lesson from her. Stop being so quick to take these so-called perks that they offer you. It's nothing more than a trap. You know, the other people can do it, and they can use the credit card for whatever purpose or purposes that they want to. And they're not going to be held to the same standard that you are. But when you start taking those perks and the credit cards and whatever else they offer as a result of the elective office, they're going to hold you to a different set of rules. And they're going to want to say that you're stealing the public money, etc., etc. So the best thing to do when you take public office, decline any so-called entitlements. Tell them you don't want it. Tell them to give it to somebody else.
Do you have a ballpark of how much you've received? I think you said it was a small number of state forfeiture funds.
No, I said federal.
Okay.
I don't think there's much in the federal forfeiture account.
Do you receive state forfeiture funds?
I do.
Approximately how much a year is that in an average year?
I don't know the number to that. I can tell you I have sitting in abeyance. I just did a huge forfeiture, but it's not money we can touch yet, and it's a couple $1 million.
Okay. What's your understanding of the allowed uses of state forfeiture funds?
If I don't know the use of a forfeiture money, I talk to lawyers in the office. I'll go to PAC. I don't touch forfeiture money unless I get some approval.
Do you know of any delineation between the allowance of uses between state forfeiture funds?
Yeah, there's definitely
and federal?
rules around. There's definitely rules.
I was asking about the difference between federal and state, if there's any rules there.
There are rules to both, and I don't know I can't tell you the rules for each. Anytime we were going to make an expenditure, we would look at it, I'm sure.
Do you know if those funds are commingled at all within your system?
I don't know it, but I would believe not.
Okay. Who is it? You mentioned that you've got people. Who is it that oversees the use of forfeiture funds in the office?
It's going to be the county that stuff is going to go back to the county.
And do you know whether or not any forfeiture funds were used to pay Mr. Wade?
I'm not aware of that. We would have submitted the invoices to the county.
Listen,
The county would
you
have
got
used
to
one of those
listen
many
carefully,
items. They
ladies
would
and
have paid
gentlemen.
them.
Listen carefully.
Don't sell your house without getting bonus cash. I can buy your house.
This is not about truth. To use the words that one individual constantly uses, this is a witch hunt. That's all it is. It's a witch hunt. In this case, it's a warlock hunt. That's what it is. I'm going to invent a brand new term. It's a warlock hunt. That's what it is. Hunting warlocks that don't exist.
Yeah, you were asking me to speculate.
You do not know whether Mr. Wade was paid with state forfeiture funds or not?
You're asking me to speculate?
No, I'm asking if you know whether or not any forfeiture funds were used.
I'm unaware of that. I'm unaware if the answer is yes. I'm unaware if the answer is no. What I'm aware of is the process was turn in a bill and they would do it. You and Jim Jordan working together?
I've never talked to Mr. Jordan.
Liar.
I don't know about that. Anybody who doesn't report people that get raped in college, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, Governor.
This out here. This is, you recognize the bottom form here? Fulton County Court Payment Voucher.
I don't.
Is this you've never seen any document in this format before?
Never.
Okay. Well, this shows a number of things here. It shows what fund it was paid from here, which is 440, which is the forfeiture fund account. You can see at the top the unit name confiscated funds for this invoice, and then here you can see that this was a payment made, and I apologize, you can't see my mouse. On the left side there, right in the middle, you can see that this was a payment made to the law office of Nathan Wade. In reviewing for your testimony today, we just did review the bills and look through different sources of funds that were used to pay Mr. Wade. I know your testimony is you were not aware that forfeiture funds were used. We saw Mr. Wade was paid from forfeiture funds and from the county general fund, which is Fund 100. And that's why I was getting to the uses of forfeiture funds to pay independent contractors. Do you have any knowledge of any restrictions that may be around the concept of using forfeiture funds to pay independent contractors?
I do not. It was my understanding that Mr. Wade was paid out of my professional services budget.
Okay. What's the accounting process? That's kind of what I was getting to earlier, of kind of, if it was your understanding he was paid out of the professional services budget, that would intimate that there's some sort of accounting procedure within either your office or the county office where there are separate fund allocations. And I asked you if your funds were commingled and everything was paid out of the same, or if there were dedicated accounts. So you were unaware that Mr. Wade was paid out of the forfeiture funds. You believe he was paid out of the professional services funds. What would be the process, as you understand, in your office to determine what fund a invoice is paid from?
You're in the weeds, and I don't know the answer.
Okay. We've already talked about the selection of the SADA, Special Assistant District Attorneys. I may use those interchangeably. The process of interviewing Governor Barnes, among some other folks, ultimately settling on Mr. Wade.
Well, I don't want you to act like he was,
Well, after just talking to 2 or 3 people, I think, to be fair, I don't think I'm not seeing at the bottom.
He's a lawyer, been practicing law 25 years.
Sure. What was the reason that you chose to use, and I think if you could just unpack this for us a little bit more, that you chose to use a special assistant DA at the rate of $250 an hour versus you?
To answer your question, no, she wasn't guilty of anything. And number 2, the reason why they're on her top, because the Republicans don't have an issue to run on in the upcoming midterm elections. So what they're attempting to do, and the guy who's in the middle, who's the Senate chair, he's running for a statewide public office, and he's trying to use this particular hearing as a means of trying to bolster his rating in the polls. They're not going to have any criminality come up out of this, and they know it. This is speculative at most, because if they had any real dirt on her, they would have produced it by now. They have none.
the attorneys that were already in your office, or hiring additional attorneys at a rate that you referenced earlier is between, I think you said between $85,000 and $200,000 a year?
Because we were drowning, and so most of the lawyers I had in the office wouldn't be qualified to do that work, most of them. I had some that were qualified to do that work, but each of them had a major project. Let me use those two cases that mattered most to me, Kennedy Maxey and Sequoia Turner. I was determined we were going to win those cases. So on day one, those cases got handed to Miss Dacia Young. In addition to handing her that, because nobody has one job, I handed her the Special Victims Division, at which time had like 8 units. So she's doing both these 2 big cases, and she's over the entire Special Victims Division. Same thing with Mr. Carlson, very qualified lawyer, but I handed him 6 units, and I also told him, you gonna get rid of these 250 or so murders that we have. We're gonna do a project, we're gonna set it up, we're gonna go one by one. So every lawyer I had with that level of experience had a huge project. I assigned a lawyer to deal with the 18,000 backlog. I don't want to be sitting here it took us, I think, 3 years to get through those, as well as keep up with the 46,000 cases that end up coming in my first term. So everyone had some. So it became obvious to me that I needed a lawyer that could manage this team while I did the rest of the work of the people.
And there was nobody else, either internal or that you could have hired at a lower rate that you just described?
Lower rate than 250? It's an insult to take 250 for a lawyer that's been practicing law that long.
I thought you told me earlier that your range of people that work for you are between $85,000, not dollars an hour, but $85,000 a year and $200,000.
Yeah, but $85,000 is like one domestic violence grant. I usually only hire someone with 3 years of experience. I make an exception with that because that's, an offensive salary. Although I can tell you, I think the state is paying lawyers $64,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. I know a little girl who's graduated Georgetown Law, and she's making $280,000, $300,000 a year. We do not take public service seriously, and we need to, because my lawyers do greater work than most of these lawyers in this civil firm.
Can I buy a house?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's insidious for him to even remotely call himself questioning her about her decision to pay lawyers a decent, equitable hourly rate for the work that they do. When the white lawyers, nobody questioned them making $350 an hour or $700 or $800 or $1,500 per hour. They never questioned how much money they make. How was it that when a black lawyer who's well qualified and been practicing law over 25 years, why does he have to take less in order to do the same type of work that others have done before him, and they made more? That's why people don't want to go into public service, because it doesn't pay any money. Public service does not make you wealthy. Public service will drain you. Public service will weary you. Public service will put so many unwanted constraints of your time into pursuit of justice. Remember that. All lawyers are not celebrity lawyers.
So which way does that path?
Sure. So describe for me the experience level of your top paid, or somebody that would fall within the category of the top paid assistant district attorney that works for you at the $200,000 a year, and to Governor Barnes's point, plus benefits. Let's just say that's $250, and if I take that divided by 2,000 hours, that's about $125 an hour.
I don't understand the question.
My question is, what is the experience level of the assistant district attorney?
Are you trying to intimate that you're going to tell me who to hire and how to do my job?
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, the wonderful people that you have hired, they're the top of your pay scale at $200,000 a year. What is their experience level? Because I'll let you answer that, and I'll ask my next question.
20 years practicing or more.
It's your testimony that somebody with 20 years practicing or more would...
Well, how about this? What is the experience level for some folk who are in politics and never held office? But yet they vote him in office. never held an office. And when they do pursue office, they want the highest office that there is. But the Republicans don't have a problem with that. That's why going into the midterm elections, and this is vitally important, going into the midterm elections, stay focused, Democrats. Don't allow these Republicans to get you intertwined and caught up in foolishness. Stick to the issues, because you can win on affordability. You can win on high inflated prices. You can win on the economy. They have no plausible reason to try to defend the dismal economy the way it has been totally decimated. You can win on the economy issue. The economy affects everybody, not just one populace of people. It affects all individuals when it comes to the economy. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Japanese, Italian American, Asian American, or whatever you want to call yourself, everyone is affected by money. Inflation is a problem in this country. It's out of control. How many videos have I done about it? That's why I try to tell folks, this channel is not an entertainment channel. This channel deals with real life issues, real life problems, real life circumstances. We delve deep into the intricate aspect of things. You can go to any other platform where they're talking about foolishness and stupidity all day and all night. That's why we don't grow quickly as others, but we will get there. Steady is the race for us, but it's solid. When it comes to Medicaid and Medicare, that is one of the plausible central issues. Deal with it. SNAP benefits. Stop running from the issues, Democrats, and stop turning on one another within your own party. Because there's that undercurrent within the Democratic Party that's still racist and bigoted. Yes, I said it. In the Democratic Party, you've got racists and bigots still there from the old Dixiecrat era, thinking they're going to navigate the future. You're not going to navigate anything. Your time is up. It's time to win.
Not be able to manage the election interference case.
You are really not listening. I said that I had people at that pay rate, and each of them was assigned a major task within my office. And no, I did not have anyone that was not assigned with a major task that I trusted to manage this case. And so I made a decision. The people of Fulton County elected me to make that decision, and I did.
Is there a reason why you decided to go the special assistant district attorney route via independent contractor as opposed to a new full-time hire?
I think it's asked and answered, so.
Okay.
Because it was cheap. You don't have to pay the perks.
Governor, I'm happy for you to provide counsel to your client, but in terms of testimony, that's what the district attorney is here for today.
Well,
can you describe?
Give you fair notice. I'm not going to allow her to answer repetitive questions that have been answered time and time again.
Were there any internal policies that you had that kind of drew a line between when you would use your internal staff versus hiring a special assistant district attorney, or was it more so based on workload like you described?
It was based on my decisions.
Okay. At its peak, how many total attorneys were working on the election interference case?
This dude, you're not as slick as you think
What do you get when you combine Viagra and Cialis? Ignite.
This dude really thinks he's slick. He really, really thinks he's slick, and he's not as slick as he thinks he is. Asking the same insidious questions. The same questions over and over again. Like nobody is paying attention. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to court, don't be so quick to answer a question. Listen before you speak. And once you answer the question to the best of your ability, every time they ask you the question and phrase it different ways, you know what you do? Plead the fifth. Yeah, I know some of y'all don't like it, but I don't care.
maybe 9, approximately.
You referenced to Mr. Cross before. I believe that's a...
Who?
I believe you referenced to Mr. Cross before.
I don't know Mr. Cross.
A couple minutes ago. Miss Cross, I apologize.
What about him?
Her.
Who are you talking about?
Miss Anna Cross.
I never referenced Miss Anna Cross.
I believe you referenced Miss Cross when we were going through...
I didn't read back the testimony.
Can you give me the breakdown of the total attorneys that were on the case? How many of those were full-time within your office, and how many of those were independent contractors?
I believe I had 3 independent contractors.
One of those being Mr. Wade. Who were the other 2?
John Floyd, Anna Cross. Diversity. White male, white female, black male. Diversity is intentional.
What kind of experience do you look for in those special assistant district attorneys?
Oh, Lord God.
They're all amazing lawyers. John Floyd is the RICO expert. He wrote the book, literally. He taught me RICO. So that was his experience. He's not he's not necessarily going to be the trial prosecutor, but he certainly is great to help you put together an indictment, and he is certainly capable of questioning a witness, but that was not his forte. Miss Cross is a brilliant mind. She writes beautifully, and is very well versed in the law. I'd worked for a prosecutor in the past, so I looked for smart people with integrity that could do the work. And I got 3 lawyers, each big guy put in different skin, that could do the work.
Thank you for giving us Ms. Cross's background, the rest of those as well. Has Mr. Wade ever prosecuted a RICO case prior to the election interference case?
Mr. Wade certainly was served as a prosecutor before this. He also has worked as a criminal defense attorney, and I believe he has defended RICO cases.
All right, this video is now 1 hour and 30 minutes into it. I'm going to pause it here and bring part 2 probably on tomorrow. Let me say this. It doesn't matter whether Nathan Wade prosecuted a RICO case prior to coming on board. It doesn't matter. How many people are there in government right now who have no experience whatsoever? They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just making stuff up as they go along. And nobody calls their expertise into question. Why? Because they're Republicans. As long as they're Republican, as long as they're part of MAGA, it's okay, whatever they say, whatever they do. Never surrender. Never quit.